will not take this. We will fight back.
Fight back. Fight back.
And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and goddamn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war.
The Department of Justice, Elena Haba, the New Jersey Attorney General, has brought the hammer down, and they have officially indicted Lamonica McIver. She is facing 17 years in prison, facing 3 felony charges. So in this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight a little bit of this article, and then I'm going to show you some video clips, and then I'm going to let you hear this deranged Congresswoman as now she wants to downplay it. And as we just heard on that first clip, what she said, G did shut down the city. You know, this lady's a radical. She's an extremist. And this is what Marxists do. You please understand the entire Democrat apparatus. They are literally raised up through the political ranks. Many of them going all the way back to high school, having these type of socialist affiliations and associations, like the LA Mayor Karen Bass, who we find out has been to Cuba 15 times. As a high school student, was going over there working when Fidel Castro passed away, praised the commander-in-chief and talked about how the Cuban people would be suffering from such a tremendous loss. This is who we're dealing with. So let's get into this. Rep. Lamonica McIver indicted on federal charges after scuffle at ICE facility. U.S. Rep. Lamonica McIver was indicted Tuesday on federal charges alleging, and I'm going to show you it's not alleging she assaulted and interfered with immigration officers outside a New Jersey detention center while Newark's mayor was being arrested after he tried to join a congressional oversight visit at the facility. Number one, that's a lie. Whenever congressional members want to conduct oversight, they are not rejected. They schedule an appointment and they're given a tour. As a matter of fact, these people were offered not only a tour, a guided tour at this newly built facility that is above the standards of every other detention facility in the country. But that's not what they did. They showed up at a random time. Meanwhile, a bus that was filled with illegal immigrants being taken into the detention center was coming through. And as the gate was being opened, these people decided to bum rush the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you may already be aware of this, but I'll be doing you a disservice if I didn't show you not the news clip of it, the actual police body cam footage. So right here, I'm going to show you, this is the real unedited, no news part of the assault that this congressional woman did. Then I'm going to jump back to these video clips. I only wanted to talk about a little bit of that article just to show, hey, the hammer's coming down, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to get into this, then I'm going to lead into the next clip. In the red, that's Rep. McIver in the red.
To a congresswoman like that, and you gotta put your hands on me, you will pay. You guys are creating this. You know that's wrong.
Here we go. Look at her pushing. Now that's not it. Now that's just the video showing you inside where she's pushing, nudging. She took her hands and went to put it around the female officer's neck when they were talking near the vehicle. As you can see right here. That's when she was going like she was about to grab that lady. And then the other video shows her literally throwing a blow, right? So now after all of that big talk, now she's being held accountable. But here's the kicker. We got members of Congress asking for her to be thrown out. Check out what Nancy Mace wants to do. And then I'm going to get off into Josh Hawley. And you're going to hear what this deranged Congresswoman had to say. Check this out.
Congresswoman McIver for her assaulting federal officers. This is not the first time that the House or Congress would attempt to expel a member of Congress, of course. There have been 6 members of Congress that have been totally expelled in congressional history. Most recently would have been the one with George Santos in December of 2023. There are other measures to censure, for example, Congresswoman McIver, to kick her off her committees, et cetera, for assaulting federal officers. This is another tool in the toolbox that we can use in the House to punish members because no member of Congress is above the law. And this falls into that category as well. Congresswoman McIver.
So Nancy Mace is calling for her to be kicked out of Congress. Now, let's listen to this delusional congressional woman, McIver, and then I'm going to follow it up with the real deal clips from Laura Ingraham and Josh Hawley. Check this out.
Would you have done anything differently? No, I would not have. Once again, we showed up there to do a job, Kate. We were there for an oversight visit. We have done this before. You know, me, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and Congressman Bob Menendez was just at a facility just a couple of weeks ago.
Now, I want you to realize Bob Menendez, who she just said, in case you don't know, is Bob Menendez Jr. He's the son of Senator Bob Menendez, who was on the Committee of Foreign Relations, who literally was just sentenced to 16 years in prison, and he was busted taking bribes from the Egyptian government. He had $500,000 in cash in his house, had accepted gold bars. His wife had accepted exotic vehicles. They took lavish trips. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it really does help the channel, helps get the information out. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. And once you do, whether you already subscribed or you're about to subscribe right now, make sure you hit the notification bell and select all. And that way you'll be notified when I upload new videos, because sometimes YouTube be tripping. So make sure you hit the notification bell and select all. Thanks. This man has been convicted and sentenced to 16 years in prison. And that's his son, who was out here at that BS attempted takeover of that facility that she's referencing in that clip, just to let you know what type of company she's keeping. As you saw in that first clip, we got the congressional woman who said illegals are not there to wipe their butts. Then you got psychopath Maxwell Frost, who didn't even have good enough credit to get approved for an apartment, but is in Congress trying to talk about how Trump and his administration should do things, who's also a nut job. Then we got Lamonica McIver, and you saw Craxine Waters up there standing next to her, co-signing like, yes, yes. So this is the radical company this woman keeps. So just so you know who Bob Menendez was, and Bonnie, the lady Bonnie she spoke about, is that older black woman who was in her late 60s, early 70s, who they take out there and put in the middle of stuff because they know law enforcement isn't going to want to hurt this woman. It looks really bad. But the fact that they would take a 70-year-old woman out there and literally use this woman as a human shield while they go out and try their attempted coup of this detention facility shows what type of character these people have. These people get on my nerves. And now she's trying to play the victim. When we just heard her big mouth in the beginning, take over the city. God, G did. And then we saw her pushing and shoving and she hitting in other videos of the federal agents. But now she's sitting there. She's got her glasses on and she just doesn't understand. What's with all these New Jersey and New York congressional women and attorney general like Letitia James with these lisps? Now, I'm not, knocking anybody that has a lisp, but these women are the loudest speaking people that get on your nerves when they speak. I love the Republican Party. I got a lot of respect for RFK, but it is hard to listen to that man speak. He needs to write everything down that he got to say, learn sign language or something. But let me let her finish.
Not too far from this location where we had an oversight visit and we were a little bit delayed, but not, confronted or was in the middle of a chaos to do so. I think, number one, we have an obligation to do so. We have to show up and do our jobs. And at the end of the day, the reason why we were there is because we wanted to make sure this facility was up to par, that it was clean, that it was safe, and that the detainees there were, given due process, that they were able to use the phone, that they were able to speak to their legal representation, which we found out was not happening. But that was our reason. So despite, what Republicans are saying, about us, trying to break people out of jail, that's untrue. We were not there to do that. We were there to conduct an oversight visit, which after all of this, the chaos, Kate, they gave us a tour. We were all of this. We broke in, we assaulted people, all of these things that, HABA is saying and Republicans are saying.
Congresswoman, you are now facing a federal charge, though. Are you afraid of what's going to transpire now?
I mean, it's super unfortunate, Kate, that we have come to this point, you know, in America, that this is what we see happening to leaders who are trying to do their jobs, rather it's the mayor of the largest city, rather it's a judge. You know, we've seen this administration come after and attack, you know, leaders for doing their jobs. It's political intimidation, and I will not be intimidated. I expect to continue to do my job.
Would you have done
These people get on my nerves. Now, they talk about how unfortunate it is that it's come to this, but yet they did everything within their power to prosecute Trump, the J6 hostages, and anyone else that they deem to be not up to snuff with whatever their progressive radical view is. Christians, they attack them. Jewish people, they attack them. And they talk about now, and then they got a tour. They could have got that tour initially. And what really burns me up is the fact that she sits here and acts as if she's some victim when all the Democrat Party wants to do is wreak havoc and stoke violence. That's all that they do. And once when the rabbit has the gun, they do not like when it's pointed back at them. And at the end of the day, I hope this woman is prosecuted and hit to the maximum. And here's the biggest problem. If you paid attention to what she said, you can hear her ideology is jacked up. She literally is calling herself a leader when our politicians are supposed to work for us. They're supposed to be servants. That's the problem. These Democrats think that they are the leaders. They are the decision makers, the arbiters over what is good for you and I. How do they know what's good for you and I? As a matter of fact, when we look at the decisions of the left-wing extremist radical Democrat Party, their decisions are horrible. These are people who are lifelong politicians, which means they've never worked in the private sector, a lot of them. They've never ran a business, but yet they always think they know how to balance budgets and dictate economies and take over industries, which is why whenever they take those ideologies that they carry with them out of Harvard, out of Yale, with zero practice or implementation, they fail miserably. The entire Biden administration was filled with overeducated politicians, people that have never ran businesses, never worked in private sectors, have worked government jobs. And we see when Democrats are in leadership, what happens to the government. It wreaks havoc. And whenever government wants to take over business and industry, it never works. It fails. We need business people, businessmen and women who have done their thing in the private sector and now want to carry their expertise into helping the government work, i.e. Trump, i.e. J.D. Vance, i.e. Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Jim Comey. These are people that have, or James Comer, excuse me. These are all people who successfully built up businesses, employed people, balanced budgets, that are in leadership, and look at their cities, look at their states, look at how they're well ran. I live in Florida. I love our state government here. Our economy is strong. Our schools are some of the best. And guess what? We got real people that have individual thought. Now, let's roll into this next clip here, where Laura Ingraham and Senator Josh Hawley are going to really break this down, what's going on after hearing that BS spewed by that Congresswoman, McIver, who is so delusional, I don't even know what to tell you.
Lamonica McIver has been indicted on 3 federal charges after a clash with federal agents outside a New Jersey ICE facility. Here to react, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Senator, this is the acting U.S. Attorney, Alina Habba, and this Congresswoman charged with forcibly impeding and interfering with federal law enforcement faces a total of, she won't be in jail for 17 years, but conceivably it could be 17 years in prison. Senator, given what we're seeing play out on the streets of L.A. and what might be expanding across the country, how important is this message?
Really important, really important. It's about the rule of law. And by the way, I seem to remember, Laura, when the Democrats had Donald Trump indicted like 1 billion times on completely fake charges, they said over and over, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. Well, guess what, Dems? No one's above the law. And these are real charges because we've all seen the video. We've seen it with our own eyes. There you've got a sitting Congresswoman who is assaulting, essentially, not essentially, totally, a police officer, an ICE officer, a law enforcement officer. We could see it on the tape. And we're going to see it 1 billion times because those are the facts. And if you do the crime, you ought to do the time.
Point blank, period. Point blank, period. So at the end of the day, this woman and the Democrat Party are getting their just dues, and it's going to keep getting worse. This is just the beginning. because the hammer is dropping. And please understand something. A lot of people say, Brian, why aren't they prosecuting more? Know something. The Democrats have the media, the entire force of the media on their side. And then they have a lot. Joe Biden got something like 200, closer to 250 radical judges passed through, federal judges. Out of the 671, at least a third of them we know are Biden judges. So when they're bringing these cases, they have to be airtight, which means they have to have the evidence, they have to have the witnesses, they have to have it so tight that there is no way that they can propagandize their way out of it. That even a left-wing liberal judge, because realize the Democrats are very smart in one way. They maneuver and wreak havoc utilizing the law, which is supposed to work to protect people. They use it to destroy. And so that's one thing I've realized about them. They play very loosely, but within the confines of the law. And so they have masters on that side that can take a piece of legislation or a bill or a law, chop it up and cut it up a million ways. And it may be really broad, but it's broad, but it's right on the barriers of what's legal. They've mastered that. And so now the right is playing catch up, and we're doing it really, really good because Trump's lawyers have been beating them down. And the left, don't get caught up when they say they're beating Trump in the battle in the court. No, they're not. They're getting pauses and stays, but they consider that a victory. But ultimately, the media might say, oh, the Democrats filed a lawsuit and this judge stopped this. What they never follow up with is the story saying how it was allowed to proceed or how the Trump administration ended up winning, and they're still going like the 500,000 Venezuelans that the judges said, yup, deport them. You didn't hear anything about that. That's been silent. Or the tariffs that all of these different people have tried to sue over to stop. Yeah, there were pauses or suspensions, but what they're not telling you is that they've been allowed to proceed while the case is being litigated. The media won't talk about that. The tariffs are still going. People are still being deported. They just get pauses and stops. And within the big, beautiful bill, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but within that, there is legislation that minimizes, if not eliminates, these federal judges being able to stop the president of the United States from fulfilling his promises within his agenda. So it's a lot of great stuff within there, not just for the border, not just for defense, not just for tax purposes, but also for legislation purposes to make sure that the next conservative president won't have to deal with what President Trump is doing. And one thing I'm gonna say, man, about President Trump, you know, you may hate him, you may love him, but he's one of the most durable people, and he's a trendsetter. And the things he's going through right now and the things that he's doing right now will play out for generations. Books will be written about this man, and I'm so grateful that I'm alive to witness it, just like you are. So if you've hung out with me up to this point, I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed, even if you are already subscribed, make sure you hit the notifications and turn on the hit all so you get the notification. But other than that, I want you to make sure that you stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.